you go to the restroom this time?
Imagine being that funny, dude. It's crazy.
Chugging down some water.
It scares me now, man.
You know, I also tried catching some Overwatch yesterday, just like listening to it. But
That's a hard game to listen to.
It's not only is it a hard game to listen to, but not only that, but like apparently I got it like right in the middle, because I think I told you like they're doing like the West games and they're doing the East games.
Yeah.
But they're on 2 different YouTube channels. So like I tuned into one. I'm like, okay, this one's live right now. It says the other one's not going live until like later today or tomorrow. And then like I got caught in some weird limbo where it's like the other channel went live and then it's like their pre-show, but then it's like the post-analysis show for the other channel. I had to keep bouncing back and forth, and I'm like, I'll just wait. And then I ended up, just like turning it on radio Overwatch. Not a very intuitive thing to do.
Super hard to listen to. I got most of the house packed up, ready to go, even all the other rooms.
It's good.
We're going to move in a couple days earlier because they said we can move in on the 28th instead of the 1st.
Oh, that's good.
So we're going to have all of the Memorial Day weekend to like get settled.
Nice. Should be good weather then, too. For the drive. Costco membership? You have a membership to Costco?
Yeah.
Just picked up some in the seasoning aisle. They have this container that's Parmesan, black truffle, garlic salt. Amazing on popcorn.
Really?
Phenomenal. I highly suggest. I can send a picture of it to you later. Next time you're in Costco.
Making some Kirkland hamburgers today.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Fine by the pound.
Oh, is it that time?
I think it's that time.
Is it that time?
I'm ready for that time.
Huh. Oh, it is that time. Oh, baby. Wait. There it is. Here's my baby boy. Do I got everything I need? I think I do. Yes, sirree, boob. We got the music. We got the people. We are here, baby. The LFTG Podcast, episode 30. We're doing it Friday morning, right? Is today Friday?
Today is Friday.
We were going to do it Wednesday, but work's been rough for both of us. I've been in the middle of moving. So Friday morning felt good. Friday morning felt real good. So we're getting it started. The LFTG Podcast is about the professional gaming world and the news that happens within it. We have about a week and 2 days to cover, and we usually cover it about an hour. If you guys do not know, the Quick Scope is 2-minute segments of just quick little news. It's like, hey, this is an update. This is what's happening. Just to let you know. Then we have the Reload. The Reload is a little bit more long-form discussion about the topics and how they can affect the professional gaming world. And then obviously we have upcoming events. The upcoming events is pretty self-explanatory. All of this is hosted by myself, Refresh, and the one, the only, the man with the beard, the plan, and he's just the man. Sitting next to me kind of always, but not really.
Mohawk Mike, and I have a very long script this week. There's a lot of news that's going on. There's more breaking news that's happening, but I'm excited. You know what? I'm excited. I'm excited to talk some esports news, some hypotheticals, some long-form discussions. But I'm more excited about your first topic because that was one I like at 3 a.m. 2 nights ago. I sent you a tweet. I was like, "Look at this! It's happening! Halo Infinite. We're getting news."
We're getting Halo Infinite news. We're about to roll right into it. Let me whip out the timer so I can be official with it. Because last time I struggle with the timer sometimes. Not even gonna lie. Halo Infinite does have an update. Tashi, basically the community director and the esports planner of all time for Halo. His title bounces back and forth. He's everything. He is the voice, the face of Halo right now, especially the competitive scene. He made 2 big tweets. Halo basically confirmed, well, it didn't, but Halo did confirm that it will be crossplay between PC and Xbox this next generation. And I've been telling people constantly, if a new shooter comes out and it wants to be competitive with some other shooters, especially a game like Call of Duty, if it's not crossplay, it's dead before it releases. Good news. The light is at the end of the tunnel. And HCS also has a little bit of an update. Tashi did confirm that the venue for the first event and the World Championship for Infinite has already been secured. And the date hasn't been announced, but they do have the date for the first Infinite event. And it is in 2021. And it will be operated by Esports Engine. They've kind of hinted that the event was going to happen this year, but this is just full confirmation. They have the event, the venue's booked. I've actually been receiving emails. This is outside of Halo. There's quite a few events popping up here, some as soon as September.
You're saying official like HCS Halo sanctioned events, or you're saying this is like just
esports events in general?
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some happening as soon as late August and early September. And I'm like, whoa. That takes me back a little bit because I'm like, I'm getting ready for a career change and I'm rubbing my hands together trying to create that fire, and Halo drops this bomb on me, and I'm just, even if I'm not working this event, I am going. 100% I am going to this event. I'll probably play in it, actually. This will probably be the first event I play in a while.
I'm very interested because they're announcing like, yes, the event is happening, but like that could be November. Like we don't. Oh, speaking of, they have a good relationship with DreamHack. Maybe it's gonna be at one of the DreamHacks at the end of the year. I just put those 2 together, so that would make sense. But yeah, very excited, especially with Esports Engine. A lot of the old MLG crew should be. We have the bookends. Yes. We have the launch and we have the World Championships. Now just time to fill everything in the middle.
Try to fill in the gaps. I think a lot of people are still worried about this game. I think it's going to be fantastic. This game, by the way, does have the highest budget in video game history now. I think it's around $600 million spent on making the game itself. And it was at $500 million, and then all of a sudden an extra $100 million got thrown in. So maybe some reworks after the initial release. One thing I'm a little disappointed in, though, I will say I love all this Halo news, is we still haven't seen multiplayer gameplay.
No.
And we all know what the release date is. We all know.
Oh, it's the anniversary.
It has to be. It's the 20th. Yeah, November 15th, 2020. That's the 20th anniversary for Halo. It has to be. They haven't announced anything. If it's not that date, I'm still in Washington. I have time to drive over and I will slap somebody in the face if they don't release the game on that day.
Dang.
I will drive. I know where to go.
What was that code again? What was it?
November 15th.
November 15th. That's interesting because DreamHack Atlanta is November 12th to the 14th.
Bam, 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 bam,
So
bam,
it may not be Atlanta, but we'll see. More news to come.
No, pre-release event. Halo always does it. Always. If the game doesn't, oh my gosh, I'm gonna freak out. If the game doesn't release on November 15th, I'm gonna lose. The more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm gonna lose my mind. Outside of, I'm bringing up some Apex Legends news. We're gonna go ahead and move on. I'm bringing up some Apex Legends news that got released. They have announced. If you don't know, I actually enjoy Apex Legends a lot. Can you donate? I mean, if you really, if we want to, I believe you have our donate button set up on YouTube. I was actually a big fan of Apex Legends when it came out. I feel like they took too long to release some of the later content. And one thing I appreciated about the game itself is its core mechanics, the gunplay. The gunplay in Apex is amazing. They just announced that they are going to be releasing a 3v3 arena game mode within Apex Legends. Now, could this be the solution to all of our problems? Could this come out and we not even care about? Could we not even care about Halo because Apex is going to be so smooth in 3v3 combat?
So this is okay. It's a very interesting time because across the entire span of all esports, everybody knows Counter-Strike is the Goliath, right? Counter-Strike is one of the created that original format. It's just spun larger and larger every year through even different iterations of the game. You know, we had all the different versions. Now we're on CS:GO, and now with Valorant really pushing that, it's interesting to me to see basically the same team that was behind Titanfall 2 that really, I mean, they kind of pushed as an esport, but it was just like, hey, here's a fun multiplayer game to play.
Right.
We're forced by their publisher to be like, hey, you need to make a battle royale. Battle royales are the hot game right now. You need to make a battle royale.
Right. And
now we're getting these tactical elimination shooters that are kind of spawning off of CS:GO. Like, is CS:GO the new battle royale? Is this kind of the way it's going? It's interesting to see, like, okay, put your focus in a battle royale. Okay, it was successful. Now make the tactical round-based shooter. Like,
right.
I think it looks really good. I like the fact that it's 3v3. I like the fact that it's smaller teams. Of what little bit I've seen off of the announcement trailer, it looks really good.
Yeah,
so I'm more excited for that and the potential of more tournaments and events going forward than the other updates that are coming out from Apex.
Yeah, I agree. I think the 3v3 arena game type itself, I think for people that appreciate the movement and the gunplay in Apex, I think the game will run smoother. Obviously, you're gonna have less map to load, so it's gonna be less taxing of a game mode. It's kind of like Warzone. Like, if you boot up Warzone on your PC, it's naturally gonna take more strain on your PC to run Warzone than it is gonna be a multiplayer lobby. I think the success of Call of Duty in the recent years and the success of Call of Duty, we have Rogue Company. We do have a lot more, not even just elimination, but just like arena shooters starting to prevail. Like, Overwatch has gotten a little bit of a bump up in popularity. I think, I'm not saying that Battle Royale is taking a dip, but I think people are finding fun in the arena games again. And just with Apex, I think it's May 4th or May 3rd. I think it's May 4th. With Apex doing listen to the games that are coming out next year. We have Battlefield coming out next year. We have the new Call of Duty, this year. We have the new Call of Duty coming out this year. We have the new Halo coming out this year. Those are that's the core 3 of like arena style shooters that are going to be releasing basically all at the same time. And Apex, before all of this, is probably going to beat most of these games to the punch. So I'm interested to see how it goes. I'm gonna play it. I'm actually probably gonna grind it because I like the game. It should be.
Here's the thing.
Super interesting.
I've watched a lot of Apex Legends. I've never played a single game. I want to jump in this 3v3 mode.
It's hard.
I'm very interested.
Yeah. We're gonna run some games together, dude.
Absolutely.
Oh, I downloaded MCC again, by the way.
Did you? Yes, yes.
Speaking of arena game modes, I mean, Rocket League's considered an arena, not arena shooter, but an arena game. Talk to me about this. Talk to me about this. This is an amazing story coming
Yeah,
up. Come on.
this is a phenomenal story. So for Rocket League, there's obviously the main game type, just like we were just kind of talking about. Like 3v3 is their main game type. Like that's everybody follows that. That's the main esport. That's the main platform. But there's a little bit of rumblings happening over the last kind of month and a half of a new player kind of breaking out onto the scene. Just turned 15 years old, so actually able to compete by the Rocket League guidelines,
Right.
can actually start competing in more professional events. Constantly top 10 on the 1v1 ladder, a player by the name of Ashley, who is actually born with a birth defect and only has one arm, one hand. So the way that they actually play the game is they use the controller partially under their chin to control the movement joystick and then use everything else with their able hand. Absolutely phenomenal. I love seeing stuff like this. We've been involved before. A lot of events within the fighting game community.
Yep.
They're a lot more susceptible to, you have players like Broly Legs. Broly Legs is a player as well, literally plays with his mouth. Literally plays partially one hand on a controller, the other in his mouth. Started with Melee, very prolific Street Fighter player, playing Chun-Li. A lot of hard motions that people can't even do.
Right, with the thumbs.
Two hands. Yeah, literally doing with his tongue. So I thought this is super great to see. And I really think that the thing is here, like the way that I kind of like wanted to promote this story was like, not that like, oh, it's this uplifting story and look at this, challenging diversity and like overcoming the odds. But no, 15-year-old kid gonna be a breakout star in this league. I really see it happening. It's just a matter of time until he gets signed to an org.
Right.
And it's not a matter of here's this marketing piece. Look at this player. It's more of like, look how good this kid is at this young of age. And I'm super excited to see where their future goes.
Keep going on about this because someone just came to my door and I'm the only one home.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
This is the second podcast in a row. I'm gonna freak out.
So yeah, as I mentioned, like actually it's constantly been within like the top 10 leaderboards, like the rankings for 1v1 mode. But also there are a lot of actual professional players that are ranked within that top 10. And the fact Ashley over the last couple of months has actually been beating those players. So that's where a lot of this like traction is coming. And again, like it's a good player, as Alex shuffles away in the background, a really good player that's, making moves and just has a really bright future ahead of them. So I would love to see what happens more here. This is definitely a story that I'm going to keep track of. Rocket League, full transparency, like I was following Rocket League professional for like a very long time. And then over these last maybe like 2 seasons, I kind of like dropped out a little bit, but be curious to see. Team picks up this player because that's the other thing too. Like traditionally, like with Halo, a lot of those up and coming players were scouted through free for all, and free for all is a game type that you would have at Major League Gaming, you would have at like other Halo events, and that's really how you made a name for yourself. It wasn't just enough to like play good online and have clips and montages and stuff like that. You were more likely to get signed by performing well in a free for all event and making a name for yourself, and then getting scouted by a team and competing for them at the next event. So I feel like this is the same exact thing that we're kind of seeing. It's just more of an online version for it. But we will see. We will see what happens with that. There was some controversy. I don't want to say controversy. There was some communication online with players on Reddit. Alex is back. Confirmation on who was at the door?
Yeah, it's the guy for the water heater that Ashton scheduled and didn't tell me about.
Okay, fun stuff. Well, I was just saying partially the other unique thing about the story is like I was talking about, like, and this as well, like back in Halo, if you wanted to really break out and make a name for yourself and you didn't have a team, you would play in the free for all events.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Free for all, you would get scouted and basically get on with the team. Whereas this is kind of like the online version of that. Ashley has been playing in these 1v1 leaderboards, and I think this is a way to get scouted to go play for an actual 3v3 professional team.
Well, you also a lot of professional players play on those leaderboards too, so it's like It's a good way to play against like good competition and then possibly meet someone. But let's go ahead and talk about Trovo. Let's hop on board with Trovo. I guess what I should say with this though, I am glad to see this is like the story in particular is like the prime example of why I don't want like a virtual reality professional gaming scene, is because I feel like stories like this would be less likely to happen, because I feel like the controller, though it does have some limitations, still has accessibility to people like this. And I feel like that's super important in this type of environment. I feel like it just provides more inclusivity. But let's go ahead and talk about Trovo. You probably have a mouthful to talk about this, huh?
Yeah, this is the one that kind of it got dropped yesterday. So everybody's familiar with Twitch and Twitch Rivals.
Yeah.
Well, Trovo, who is a newer streaming platform, they've only been around for a year, actually owned by Tencent. So this is the interesting thing. You have like, with Mixer being owned by Microsoft, a lot of people kind of, started jumping ship from Twitch to Mixer because they thought like, oh, this is, it's a great platform. They've got all these cool features. It's owned by Microsoft. There's no way it's going to flop, right?
It's like
Tencent threw their hat into the ring, especially after Mixer left. So Tencent launching Trovo. Trovo, I think, is going to make a huge splash. It already has internationally. For us in North America, I think people are just kind of like catching on and learning about it. But in conjunction with their 1-year anniversary, they've announced a new program called the Trovo Titans. And the thing that I really like about this is that with Twitch and Twitch Rivals, it's like, come watch your favorite streamers competing, $75,000 prize pool, blah, blah, blah. We're doing Fortnite, we're doing Fall Guys, blah, 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 all this. And it's like, it's cool content, but this Trovo Titans program, the way that it's been announced, is more for the community. So they have a series of tournaments kicking off in May. That's lasting all the way till December. So you have 8 months worth of tournaments, $250,000 guaranteed up for grabs across 3 regions, North America, Latin America, and Europe. And they're already kicking off in May with a variety of different games. So there's some mobile games that are in there, which is like Trovo itself is like, as a platform, it's kind of found its voice with mobile gaming. And so there's already a built-in community there, but they're doing other games as well. They're doing League of Legends, they're doing Valorant, they're doing other style games. So I think it's very cool. I think it's going to have a big impact on not just like the esports scene in general, but like I really think this is going to drive more traffic to Trovo, because as I said right now, like if you go to Trovo, there's a decent amount of people streaming on it, but a lot is like international, like Russian, Portuguese, different languages. And as a platform, I think this is a really good move.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great move. Anything to get the community more involved is always super helpful. It's going to get a lot more people engaged with the type of content that's being put on there as well. Yeah, I'll be super interested. Do you know what Trovo's stance is on getting onto a place like Streamlabs as far as like accessibility goes?
I had another colleague of mine that I was telling them about Trovo, and they've been using Streamlabs. They've had no issues. A lot of people that I've actually seen on there as well are multi-streaming. But I know that at least from the press release that I read, there's like Trovo, the whole initiative is to like get people at least streaming on Trovo, watching on Trovo. So it's there.
All right.
It's there as a platform. Use it how you want to.
Yeah.
But one of the cool things they do too is so they have what's called the Trovo 500 program, where it's like basically like the top 500 streamers. I think it's by watched hours. There's like certain like metrics you have to hit.
Yeah.
But like with Twitch, it's like, hey, do you want to be partnered? Here's this really weird process where you have to like meet this criteria and then send in an application for review. Trovo 500 is like, if you meet these metrics and then you're on the leaderboard, we pay you cash. I think it's like $8,000 for first place or $5,000. Like they generate like super transparent. So that's another like marketing strategy they're doing with trying to drive more traffic to Trovo. Like if you get in the Trovo 500 program, it's a flat out like you're making money.
Yeah, I like the transparency there, especially for like events. I think that could be super helpful because like there's a lot of new events that pop up, especially in like the FGC, that gain a lot of traction and momentum visually, but they have a hard time getting a hold of like Twitch. They're like, hey, like this event, this is how many people we have showing up. Do we still have to meet these things to even become affiliates so people can subscribe and actually like do their thing? So I mean, Trovo is providing a good solution for that, to where if you're hitting those metrics anyway, then you benefit from it. So yeah, that's a good thing that they have going for them. But it's
Yeah, I would definitely tell everybody check it out. They there's a Dexerto article out there. Their Twitter handle is at Trovo Titans. That's the name of the program. 100% all to free to enter tournaments. They've got some big money stuff that's happening. So and weekly events too. There's weekly events from May until the end of December. So every week there's a new tournament you can play in.
sick.
All free to enter. It's gonna be nuts.
That's awesome. Well, it's that time of day where we go ahead and move into the reload. We're actually going to do your reload topics first because mine are more like updates,
Okay.
less so than news. So go ahead and talk to me about accountability. This is what you titled. And it mostly has to do with the Gears players, huh?
Yeah. So I just labeled it basically just this topic. We're just calling it accountability. You know, I had a couple other like funny, you know, kind of like unique titles that I wanted to latch onto this, but like I think this is a bigger conversation.
Yep.
So there are 4 professional Gears of War players, which is funny enough because like everybody that I've seen on social media, they're like, wait, Gears of War has a pro league? Yes, they have a pro league. They've had a pro league for a long time. 4 players actually from different teams. This is the thing. Like, it's not just one team. They're representatives from 4 different teams have been banned from professional competition.
Right.
Or they went into, there was a female streamer who was streaming Gears of War, and they collectively went in as a group and harassed her in chat for, it was over 90 minutes. We're talking an hour and a half of just constant, just nasty texting and speech and just all sorts of horrible things.
Yeah.
And so obviously the VODA's there. It caught wind, went back to Epic, went back to the Gears of War Pro League, and so all of those players have been banned. And the thing here is like, how did you? First off, how do you think this behavior is okay?
Right.
As a professional player, like you have a contract, you're playing with a team, you're always going to be a representative of that team,
Right.
outside of the actions of competing in the pro league. But then also like not knowing that this isn't okay. Like it baffles my mind. So
What prompted this? Like, what was the like?
I don't know, and that's the thing. Maybe there's something more underlining here than we're just getting at face value. But basically, professional players from the teams Vanquish, Hive, Noble, and Elevate just entered the chat. We're saying these things. I don't know if the female streamer herself used to be a pro or like some kind of relationship, but in any case, it's not warranted.
Right.
It's not warranted. Even if you weren't on a professional team, like this behavior is just awful.
Right.
And I don't think anybody that would condone it.
Yeah,
So,
I would be curious to see if anything comes out about what prompted it, because I think it's super weird that 4, like if it was 1, it would be like, okay, this person's just clearly being a weenie. But this like it's 4 people all at the same time for about an hour and a half. Like that just doesn't make sense. I mean, how do you not have the common sense to not do that unless it was prompted? So I mean, if it was something random and nothing ever comes out, I'd be like, dude, that makes no sense. Why? Like, you're in the public eye all the time now. And believe it or not, the professionals gear scene, you might not know about it, but it's actually a decent sized community. A lot of it is in is located in Mexico, Central America. A lot of players in South America. There's a decent scene for it. But I will say, this community has been known to be a little rough, even in LAN. They're known to stand up. They're known to screen, say some crazy stuff, even on broadcast. So it's like maybe they got too comfortable. I don't know. I don't know what their problem is.
well, that's funny because I remember actually I was working an event for Pokemon in San Diego, and there just so happened to be, there was a Gears Pro Tour stop that was happening there. So I ended up actually like dipping out for like an hour to go check it out. And like one of the things that got me was like part of their broadcast, like not even on the main stage, because like people were doing like pop-offs and yelling across the stage. You know, that's whatever. Like that's fine. That's a little more manageable. They actually had in one of the side stations, they actually had 2 free roaming camera operators there just in case if the players started popping off. And then they're doing these like cross shots and like the players are mic'd up basically. You can hear everything they're saying. I'm just like, some of the stuff they're saying is like very volatile. And it's like, not only is it a matter of like, okay, this is rough. Like in any other league or game, it'd be like, okay, you would actually take these players and like give them a warning or some kind of like infraction, be like, hey, like don't do this again, or we're gonna have to kick you, you're gonna have to put in a sub in or something like that. It seemed like they were actually Gears was kind of encouraging.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
This not necessarily encouraging, but they were highlighting it with the broadcast. And the thing is, like, it's obviously it's an immature game.
Right.
Like the broadcast, I'm sure is like, it's hey, it's like this is a mature broadcast. Like,
yep.
And that's fine. But like, if you are creating this kind of atmosphere, and then you have players go out and do something like this, it's like, is it really that surprising?
Right. Yeah, it's not. Like when I read this, I was like, oh yeah, this sounds like a Gears player. Like
yeah, right.
like
well, speaking of a Gears player, I wanted to specifically there was one of the players that actually received the ban, Vital the One, sent out a tweet, and I just wanted to read this real quick because I thought this was actually the whole story itself. I think this is one of the most interesting components of it. And so this is the tweet they sent out. I didn't expect my Gears career to end like this. I'm glad for all the memories and the fact I was able to get one trophy. Not sure where to go from here, but thanks for supporting the journey. That's not an apology.
No.
That's not them, taking accountability for their actions. They're like, well, this sucks. Was a fun ride. I'll catch you guys later.
Yeah,
like,
I'm curious to see if anything's going to come to light in the next week. Just by how the players are acting, it's this whole situation's a little funky. I really hope nothing prompted it, but something's telling me that there could be something in the background that we might not be seeing. And sometimes, and it's unfortunate to say, sometimes there's especially in a community like that where it's you don't say glorified, but it's very highlighted to talk trash and in a very vulgar way. Maybe something was said during a broadcast during the last tournament. Maybe something was said on Twitter. Who knows? But
well, even outside of the scope of this, I just wanted to add in real quick. Like we saw this with the speaking out movement last year, especially within the Smash Brothers community. A lot of those players lost their sponsorships, lost their teams. It's one thing they're banned from events as well. But even more funny, this morning, and like literally like a half hour before we went live, and I want to talk about this next week because I kind of want the dust to settle. But the organization We Play, which I highlighted many times about their phenomenal podcast, they're doing a lot of stuff across the esports. Both Bandai Namco and NetherRealm released basically joint statements, even though they were separate. They basically hit the Twitter sphere at the same time, saying that they are pulling their games from the We Play events because they are partnered. They didn't explicitly say, but everybody kind of knows, like wink, wink, with 1xBet, which is a very, very shady betting website that's also partnered with ESL. So again, like accountability. It's not even just like if you're a professional player, you have to hold yourself to those standards at all times.
Right.
And everything you do in the public space, whether it be Twitter, whether it be streaming on Twitch, whatever it may be, is susceptible to you being held accountable for your actions. But it even goes higher to that, to the actual organizations themselves.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy stuff, man. Just be careful of what you do online. I mean, just be a good person, That's what it comes down to. Just be a reasonable human being. But let's go ahead. This is an interesting topic that I wanted to hear kind of. I skimmed over your notes, and I wanted to hear more about this esports certification.
Yeah, this one kind of blew up a few days ago. So a couple of members who used to be former, they've been involved in the esports space for a while, but primarily they worked at Dignitas together. They created this esports certification institute. And the whole idea behind it is like they personally have seen so much nepotism and cronyism within esports that they're trying to combat it. So for anybody that doesn't know, nepotism is when you're hiring people that you're related to, that aren't necessarily a good fit for the job and actually not capable to actually perform their duties. Cronyism is when you hire a friend, basically the same thing.
Right.
So we have seen within the greater industry, we've seen a lot of people that I have a lot of friends that refer to it as they fall up. So they fail upwards.
Yep.
So it's like they get hired on, they work at a company, the project doesn't work, or maybe the organization collapses or whatever it may be, and it's partially their doing, maybe not their undoing, but then they take that resume, they take that experience and they basically just shift over into another organization, another league. I've seen it personally a handful of times. I know that there are other, I guess I'd refer to them as colleagues in the industry that I've seen the same exact thing happening, that I'm just like, how is nobody tracking this? How does nobody know that individual basically collapsed this organization, this project, and is working on this? So when I first started hearing rumors of this and like kind of announcements and stuff, I'm like, okay, this is not a bad idea. I like the idea. I've done lots of mentoring. I've done lots of consulting across all of this. So I'm like, I'm okay with something like this happening. And it's more like a regulatory board than it is like a certification was my initial thought.
Right.
But they got a lot of flack because they have on their advisory board, there are a lot of professional esports representatives, like, tons of, decades, years worth of experience. But when they released the certificate program, it came with a sticker price of $400. And people collectively started losing their minds. $400 for a certificate that not even sure if it's going to actually be upheld. Like, if you put that on a resume as an organization or a league, like, does that outweigh more than like actual like experience, like your actual work duties? And so they ended up actually after a lot of conversations, they ended up actually pulling the program. So they're like, hey, we understand, we want to make sure that everybody agrees with this. Our whole idea behind this project is combat nepotism, cronyism. That's the whole reason we're even doing this. And so if people aren't agreeing with what we're doing, then we want to cater to the community, which I think is great. I think it's a great response.
Right.
The only thing I didn't see anything about the test itself, but I did see from another someone else in the industry that was a screenshot of one of the questions that's on the certification exam. That's like, if you're working with an energy drink company and the energy drink has to be 1/25 part sugar to water, and you get a can that's 16 ounces, how much? Like, it's more like a math problem than it is like logistically figuring out like, okay, here's the issues in the industry, how do we solve them?
Right. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Yeah. So
I mean, I like that someone has thought about dealing with the issue. It's just such a specific. It's how do I put this?
The thing here too is like, at least the way that I understand it is like it was one blanket, like, take this exam to get the certification. But what happens if you want to work in marketing, if you want to work in broadcast, if you want to work in tournament ops, if you want to work in like, it's just like this one blanket, like, okay, now you're certified. And I don't know, there's really any way to kind of ensure that if somebody's wanting to break into the market and they have a specific goal of where they want to be, having just the generic certificate, I'm not sure it works.
I wish it was more of like a work history than it was. Like, I wish the certificate was based off of like your work history and like your, I don't want to say X amount of dollars made, but like success in the industry, like, and like being able to prove that you are valuable to the industry itself. But I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't know how you would go about putting a certificate to that, because if you working from one event to the other, and we deal with so many different types of games, the FGC community is nothing like the FPS community. The events don't run the same. The production doesn't run nearly close to the same. Like, so how do you get a general certificate for something that changes all the time per game?
Yeah.
Changes per game. Like, one person, I mean, we've seen very rare examples of people going from one esport to the other and being successful, but we see a decent amount of examples of people trying to dive into other esports and they're not a good fit at all for their community. So it's
well, I think part of the concern here too is like, is the certificate even going to be valuable? Like, are actual hires going to produce? And that's the thing, like, with their regulatory board and like the founders, like having input within like, organizations like Dignitas or, having a work relationship with ESL and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Is it something where they would then go to those potential organizations and say, hey, this is something you should require of new hires? And then it's cycling back to, here's the $400 entry pro. Like you have to have that before even
Right.
being considered a candidate. But I do want to speak real quick. I know we went long on this. Speaking of value, this is one that I had someone that I was mentoring come to me and was like, hey, I found this program. It's an online program for esports management. I'm thinking about taking this. And here's the thing. Everybody's freaking out about this $400 sticker price with this new esports certification.
Right.
The UC Irvine has a program, an online program for esports management. It's roughly a 4-month, it says 3 to 6, but from what I've heard, it's a 4-month program of online schooling. That's $2,500, $2,500 to basically earn your degree, your certification in esports management. But here's where the kicker comes. The committee, the advisory committee, some of the people that are actually teaching these courses, I think it's worthwhile just for the networking. If you're looking to break in to the industry and you don't have those contacts, spending the $400 on this certificate seems like it's not really weighted right now. But this $2,500 program to go to an actual university, UC Irvine, to do the online schooling to get this program,
Right,
with representatives from Twitch, from Activision, from the university itself, from Microsoft, from Blizzard, like the contacts you can make from that and actually learning firsthand from these people rather than just taking a test and did you pass or fail?
right.
I think it's a little more worthwhile.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I an esports certificate is something super hard to produce. And like I said, with how different scenes are and how different businesses act in the community, even organizations, they have different. Like when you see an organization have different games, a lot of different people manage people within those different games. It's not a blanket thing they have. Obviously, you have people at the very top of the organization that have like a blanket like management role, but a lot of the times it's being micromanaged by people specifically in that community itself. So we're gonna go ahead and move on from this. I'm interested to see if anything more happens with this, but for now, we're going to do our first OWL update. The season has started without us knowing because I don't know what happened there, but
we talked about this last week. Where was the press? Where was the tweets? I didn't know the league started.
So if you guys do not know, the Overwatch OWL means Overwatch League. There's 20 teams in the Overwatch League. This week, I'm just going to highlight the top 8 and kind of the matches that happened throughout the week. Right now, we have affiliate number 1. This is based off of placings. We have affiliate number 1, 4-0. They haven't lost yet. Houston, the Outlaws, they're 4-0 right now. Washington, DC, I should say, is 3-0 right now. Obviously, not everyone's caught up. We're in the middle of the week. We have the Hunters, which are 3-1 in 4th place. Florida Mayhem, which is 2-0. They're 6-2 with map wins and losses. They haven't had any ties. The only one in the top 8 that has, there's 2. So yeah, we have the Hunter. We have Toronto in 6. We have Dynasty. Yeah, Dynasty in 7th, 2-1. Shanghai Dragons have won more than a game this year so far. They're 2-1. Seoul Dynasty has had Shanghai Dragons. They do have map ties on here, so that does go to your win-loss record, which I like because there's a decent amount of map ties. And let's see what we got upcoming this week. Power rankings haven't changed much. Houston is still number 1 right now. Power rankings, people are convinced that they're better than Philadelphia. I think the Fusion might have an argument for first.
Yeah.
Hunters sitting in 3rd on the power rankings. Washington Justice, they're sitting pretty at 4th actually, and Florida went down from 3rd to 5th. So just because of their loss this last week. And then I believe we have the matches that happened recently. We have Paris 3-1 over Vancouver. Vancouver has not been able to secure a win yet. We have London taking a loss. We have Hunters beating New York. I'm just skimming over these to see kind of how the top 8 did. The biggest one to stand out is Houston Outlaws 3-0ing London. Everyone thought London was going to have a bit of a chance this year. And then Boston not being able to win against Dallas. Those are the two that I'm seeing that are stand out-ish. Let's see. Yesterday we had Shanghai Dragons taken. We have Seoul Dynasty taken. New York 3-0. Washington beat Boston 3-1. And Atlanta beat Paris 3-0. Boston and London play today. Today also we have San Francisco Shock, which are sitting at top 10, I believe. So big dip. Obviously the world champions from last year. 2 years in a row, actually. Sitting at 10th place in the rankings. They're going to be playing Florida Mayhem today at 1:30 p.m. Toronto's playing Washington today. And then the biggest match that I'm curious to see over the weekend will be I want to see San Francisco play Atlanta. They're both around the same in the rankings right now. I think San Francisco will win. I think San Francisco is one of those teams that bounces back usually around week 10 or 11. Once we get through the halfway point, they seem to be a team that starts slow and finishes hot. But yeah, basically that's your Overwatch League update. Nothing too crazy. We're still super early in the season. Next week I'll have some more detailed results. I'm going to plan to watch a couple of the matches. And then I might do mini predictions. Definitely not like how we do with the CDL, because that would be too much stuff to pay attention to. Speaking of CDL, we're going to go ahead and hop into the CDL update that we have every week.
I mean, we could just skip the pick'em results this week if you want. I'm fine with that.
Me too, because I'm pretty sure you beat me in those. We're going to go ahead and start off with Challengers. Challengers is officially done, ended. We're going to UT Crew. We're going to start with North America, obviously. UT Crew ended up in first place. E-Star ended up in second. Fantastic Four, third. Subliners Academy, fourth. Built by Gamers in fifth. And in sixth place, we have LAG. So it's good to see two Academy teams still in the running, able to hold their elite stage title. But the two teams that drop are going to be Triumph and TMNT. TMNT seems to be getting into the Challengers Elite stage basically every time, but they have to requalify every time because I haven't seen them stay in yet. Yeah. And then in Europe we have Amelia Strays take place over Elevate, so a little bit of upset. Team War dropped all the way down to sixth place. Obtained Esports and Pushing Gaming are going to be the ones eliminated. Orglis, 3G, Mavericks are your third, fourth, fifth. But yeah, Amelia stays as first, Elevate second. Let's go ahead into last week's pick'ems. Just tell me how many games did you get correct? Because this was my worst week by far.
I got 5 correct.
You got 5 correct?
Correct. I scored 15 points.
Okay, so you beat me by 2.
Wow! How many? Wait, you only got. How many games?
I got 3 matches correct.
Wow!
It was bad, dude. You said you got 5 correct, right?
Correct. Yeah, the only one I got 5 correct, and the only one that I actually predicted spot on was Toronto Ultra versus Florida Mutineers. I predicted that to be a 3-0, and it was the 3-0.
So you have bounced back a little bit. You're sitting at 44 points. I'm sitting at 46. So after my big comeback and big lead, it has been thrown away because last week my predictions were god awful.
Yeah, the game that I actually predicted it incorrectly, but it was one of those ones that in my heart. So Subliners beating FaZe 3-2.
That was a good set.
Was nuts. That was an insane set. I was very happy. I feel like every week I keep harping. I'm like, Subliners is great. Subliners is good. It just kind of depends on the team that really shows up. And so I loved seeing them beat FaZe, even though it screwed up my pick'ems. I'd be even farther ahead if I had actually predicted that. But I think FaZe, we're starting to see chinks in the armor.
Yep, we're starting to see some chinks in the armor. Speaking of Speaking of, so we have this week's matches. We have 2 matches already taken place. Did you do your pick'ems at all for this week?
I did my pick'ems, but I missed yesterday. I didn't get them in time.
Perfect, because I got one of those. So I'm starting off a point ahead. Yesterday we had New York Subliners falling to the London Royal Ravens 3-2. I predicted that 3-0. Hydra stepping in place now for Diamond Con. Hydra looking really good with the AR. However, they weren't able to. It was the search and destroys, man. They got bopped the first search and destroy, and then obviously went to a game 5 and then lost the second. The control wasn't really that close. The London Royal Ravens did a really good job in control. But Subliners need a little bit of help in the search and destroy department. Hopefully they don't fix that this week because they end up playing Seattle later in the week. And then yesterday also we had LA Thieves versus the Atlanta FaZe, and this was a slap of a game. I predicted this one exactly correct, 3-2 for Atlanta FaZe. I did have faith that LA Thieves would take it to a game 5, but FaZe was starting to look pretty good at that last search and destroy on Checkmate. They usually actually veto that map, so they must have been practicing it, and they came out with their ace in the hole. They won a lot of offensive sides on that map, so it was really good to see that. But let's go ahead and move on. Let's go ahead and move on to our pick'ems. We have the first match of today, which will be happening in about an hour. We have Toronto Ultra versus LA Gorillas. LA Gorillas did have an upset last week. I would consider an upset over Paris. They ended up 3-0ing Paris. LA Gorillas have been looking good. They brought back Chino. And Chino's one of those players that are able to play a little slow. I know a lot of people gave this team a hard time because they dropped Vivid. Vivid was a really quick submachine gun player, but maybe a little bit too quick. They dropped him, got Chino, a little bit slower, methodical gameplay. Toronto obviously winning the last major, and I believe not dropping any sets last week, even though that's where I messed up in my predictions. I didn't have any faith in Toronto, and Toronto is where Toronto showed up last week. I think they're going to show up again. Watch them lose this week.
they had 2 3-0s last week. I'm predicting this is a 3-0. Toronto Ultra going over LA Gorillas 3-0.
I think
they're going to keep it going.
I have 3-1. I have 3-1, and the reason I think the search and destroy, I think LAG is going to be a powerhouse in search and destroy, and I think they're going to have to figure out everything else because they have apathy and they have Chino, and those 2 players are very good at search and destroy all the time. So I think they'll be consistent, and I think if they are going to take a map, it will be that map. And then the next map we have Minnesota versus Paris Legion. I have this being close, actually. I have Minnesota getting a little bit too comfortable, still winning 3-2.
I feel every week I do this with the pick'ems. Anytime I see Minnesota record on my screen, I'm like, oh yeah, they were really good at the start of the season. I have them beating Paris 3-1, but like now sitting here looking at this, I'm like, this is probably not. No. Paris is probably going to win 3-2.
I mean, Minnesota's favored, but something's telling me that Minnesota is. I don't know. Well, no, you never know. I mean, this league's been crazy, man. This league's been super hard to predict. Like when you think you have a team figured out, they make a team change or they do something crazy.
Outside of top 3, it's anybody goes. Yeah. So yeah, 100%. I do have Minnesota.
And even top 3, it's like Toronto will sneak in there. It's like you have Minnesota 3-0.
I have 3-1 against Paris Legion.
Okay, I can see that. I think that's very likely, actually. And then Saturday, we have Atlanta FaZe versus London Royal Ravens.
This is another one I think it's going to be really close. I think it's going to be a close series. I think it's a 3-0. You think it's a 3-0? I actually have it as a 3-1 for FaZe.
After watching them have that like ace in the whole map and just coming out and frying in that last search and destroy, something's telling me they're going to have more tricks up their sleeves, and they're going to have to pull it out at some point. And I think now's the time. We have Dallas Empire versus LA Gorillas. I'm actually super low on Dallas right now. If you do not know, Hook is no longer playing for the Dallas Empire. He's been put on the bench. The only thing that was said, and Hook was like an all-star player, the only thing that was said in response was Crimsix tweeted, "Look at the mini map." That's all he said. So look at the mini map. So something's telling me Hook is having the same problem Vivid had on LA Gorillas. Maybe it was getting a little bit too aggressive on the map, flipping spawns at incorrect times. I still think they're adjusting. I do have them winning this set 3-2, but I think it's only going to be a 3-2 because I still think they're trying to find themselves.
Yeah, I kind of took the whole Hook situation into account as well. I have Dallas Empire going over LA Gorillas 3-1, but I think that I think it's because I undervalue LA Gorillas so much. But this could be it's probably going to be a closer series. It could go either way, in all honesty.
Yeah. And then we have where'd you go?
I'm so excited to talk about this one.
Where'd they go? Okay.
Your Game Fuel marquee match of Saturday.
So
New York Subliners versus Seattle Surge.
Okay, I will tell you what I just did. I had New York winning this 3-1 just because I really wanted to get the prediction right. However, I read that and it didn't feel right, so I just changed it 3-2 to Subliners.
I already had my pick'ems locked in. I had it 3-1 for Subliners.
I had
a initial gut feeling.
So you have my initial gut feeling. I have my Here's the thing. Here's why I predicted this. Seattle went 0-2 the week 1. Mm-hmm. In order to start off in winner's bracket, which is my goal for them for the major, they have to win this.
Yeah.
So by my logic, because they have to win, as a fan, I think they will win 3-2. I think it's going to go down to the search and destroy.
You're going to will it into fruition for them.
And if they don't win, mark my words, they're going to drop Looney and pick up Hook or Vivid. Mm-hmm. Keep an eye out for that. Hook and Vivid are both on the bench.
I think you need to tweet at Seattle Surge and let them know that that's your goal.
I did.
Your goal for them is to enter into the winner's side bracket for...
Maybe they'll respond to me finally. Maybe they'll respond to something else besides me yelling at them to like learn how to market to the local market here. Yeah. But anyway, I have Seattle winning that 3-2 just out of... I'm going to will it. I'm going to will it into existence. I'm going to be sitting on the floor. I'll have a bottle of tequila in front of me, and every time Looney chokes a 1v1, I'm going to take a shot at tequila. And so by the time Game 5 happens, I'll be passed out.
Oh man.
So we'll see how that works. And then we have Sunday. We have Florida Mutineers and Paris Legion. I think this is going to be a banger. However, Florida looked really good, really good last week. Havoc coming in and coming in instead of Slack. Slack is now on the bench. I think Havoc is a really good in-game leader and like able to play around Awakening and Skies more, and that's something that the Florida squad needs. I have them actually barely winning. I'm giving Paris the benefit of the doubt of winning 2 maps, but I do have Florida winning this 3-2.
That's interesting. I have the reverse. I have Paris Legion winning this 3-2 against Florida Mune. Paris, I'm telling you, man, I'm like, there's some weird kinetic wavelength. I tap into it. I've predicted there are other upsets. I feel like this is going to be a close series, but I see Paris pulling it out. Florida had a rough go last week. They got 3-0'd. I'm going back to double check. They did beat Minnesota Rockor 3-1, but then they were 3-0'd by, where was that? Oh, Toronto Ultra. So it's like they had.
I think Rocker was a big win for them because I had Rocker winning that series in my pick'ems.
I did as well. That was one that I missed, but I feel like Florida like kind of had an inconsistent week last week, even though they played very well. I could see them coming in just as strong, but Paris is like they're either super strong or they just kind of like peter out. So
yeah, no, I think you could be right on this one. Actually, now I'm looking back at it. But we're going to go ahead and move on. We have Toronto versus the Minnesota Rocker. I have Toronto winning this 3-1. I doubted them last week. I will never do that again. I won't doubt them until they start losing. So I have Toronto winning this 3-1.
I have the same exact score. I have Toronto winning 3-1.
Then the Game Fuel marquee match of the week, Sunday night. I'm going to watch this just to see how many viewers this gets.
Yeah.
Because
I was gonna say, like, I'm getting kind of tired of this. I feel like I understand like the season were predetermined and it's kind of round robin, but it's like, how many times are we going to see Optic versus LA Thieves. Like,
We
it's
haven't
just,
seen
how
it
many
that
times has that
much.
happened so far?
We haven't seen it that much.
I feel like we've seen it a lot. I feel like
Here's the thing, though. The teams, they choose the groups.
right.
So at the end of every major, the team that wins, they chooses who goes in the next group, and then it does like the ladder system. I think Optic's going to win 3-1. I think they're going to win comfortably.
Really?
Yep.
I
all I
have
have to say.
this for the sake of broadcast and for viewership. I actually have LA Thieves winning 3-2, but I really think it's going to be a 3-1.
Ooh, we shall see.
Thieves.
We shall see. We shall see. I think it should be a good match. Either way.
I'm surprised you're backing Optic on this one.
I'm backing Optic.
As strong as Thieves has been.
I got to.
I mean, I should be happy for that in the case of pick'ems. We do have a lot of diversity this week. We have a lot of games where we split.
Yeah, we do. We have some. Do I not have?
I think that's a testament to the current meta and the current the kind of like leaderboards, because like at the start of the season we predicted a lot. We had a lot of out of the what is that 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 out of the 10 games that were happening each week, we would maybe have like 2 or 3 that were different. But now we're vastly there's huge sweeps here.
Yeah. I mean, the games are getting closer and closer, man. Like it's one of those things where I think it's just getting crazier and crazier. I think less teams have the advantage than what they used to before. I think the skill gap, just the fact that you see Atlanta starting to drop some series, and they were clearly looking like the best team in the world for a minute. I think it's a big testament to them. I think it's a big testament to other teams, because you have teams like LA Gorillas. They're the first ones to beat them all season, and then you have Toronto winning a major. I mean, it's just getting closer and closer, and I think.
Well, Subliner's beating FaZe as well. Like I as much as I like wanted that to happen, I was kind of shocked.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard not to be. I'm just getting this figured out, because apparently I didn't have the whatchamacallit, your event banner up, but now I do. All right, we're gonna go ahead and moving on to upcoming events. There we go. Yay! Go ahead and talk about your event. We have the GSL 2021 Season 1 Finals happening.
Yeah, so this is interesting. We cover a lot of different games on this show, and I feel like one that doesn't really get a lot of love anymore is StarCraft 2. And so this is like one of the first like kind of bigger events that's happening. Global StarCraft League, the GSL, has been one of the initial pioneers of esports, based out of Korea. For anybody that's not, like, you could go back, like they were one of the first kind of leagues that were filling stadiums. They've done finals like in outdoor venues, like with tons of people. I think they still have I think for the longest time they had the record for like largest attended, like spectator attended esports event, and it was one of their finals events.
It was one of the ones in Korea, right?
Yeah, exactly. So Season 1 finals we have coming up. This is actually technically going to be like Tuesday. It's going to be like Monday morning our time. It'll be Tuesday in Korea. You can watch it on Africa TV, or you can go. I think GSL also has a Twitch channel. I can't recall actually. But this is the Season 1 finals for GSL 2021 season. We have Rogue versus Maru, which is going to be in the grand finals. These are two players that I'm kind of unfamiliar with, and it's one of those things that like kind of the old guard of StarCraft is kind of like we're starting to see kind of like the push out of the older players, those legends, those gods of StarCraft, and now we're seeing a lot more of the new blood. I did go back and kind of like watch like a couple highlights and clips, and they're both really, really strong players. Obviously, they're in the finals,
right?
But the thing that I thought was really interesting here is their final matches in bracket to make it into the finals. They both narrowly won against their opponent 4-3. So best of 7 series, they both won 4-3. I think that means that we're going to see a very close matchup here. GSL has had a couple of times where it's like you go to watch and it's like it's not necessarily a blowout, but it's not entertaining. So it could be a very good match. So even if you don't tune into it live, because obviously
Yep.
for like us, if you're in North America, it's going to be harder to kind of stay up and watch it. But it's one I want to go back and watch, because the other thing is like Tasteless and Artosis are still on commentary. You know,
That's crazy.
It's kind of, it gives you kind of like those like kind of like old school like kind of like vibes of like, man, remember like 5 years ago when this was like the biggest esport in the world?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really cool to watch. So
I can see StarCraft making a bounce back.
I could see too. I just feel like they need not necessarily like a StarCraft 3 or like some kind of big update. Like we did have a non-Korean win the world championships last year, if I recall. Maybe that was 2 years ago. So it's one of those things that like at its height with like Major League Gaming, there was a really good North American organization that was hosting these games.
Right.
Like one of the most spectated esports of all time. There could be a resurgence. I think it's one of those things too that like the market is flooded and RTS is a game type. There's not a lot out there. Like, you know, battle royales, first person shooters, there's so much variety, and it's like you can pick and choose what you want to watch. What's the flavor of the month, so to say. But like we haven't seen another really big RTS game, and so StarCraft is like, it's still there and it's still very prevalent, but it's not as prominent as it used to be.
Even the GSL logo is like, I look at it and I'm like, that's old school right there. Yeah. Just something about it. Just something about it. And then I'm obviously my event is just I'm gonna be watching CDL this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not gonna talk about that too much because we just met.
What's the match you're looking most?
Oh, come on, New York versus Seattle.
Subliners versus.
Or no, but honestly, the LA Thieves versus Optics should be good. I just think Optics gonna have a little bit more handle of it than after watching Scumpy fry last time he played. I think it's time. I think the timing's right. I'm curious to see what the viewership's like too. Sunday night, LA Thieves versus Optic. That's gonna be. I think that's gonna be some decent numbers as far as viewership goes.
It'd be nuts.
Is there anything else you want to close it out on? I can finally close all these tabs I have open.
I kind of alluded to it earlier. There was breaking news before we went live with WePlay and Bandai Namco and NetherRealm pulling their games. I want to talk about that more next week.
Yeah,
we kind of know kind of the circumstance now, but I want the dust to settle. But that's going to be, you know, this organization, amazing broadcast, doing wonderful things for the fighting game community, and literally just having a partnership with one sponsor like ruined it. So we'll see how that story develops.
Yeah, that's business though. Sometimes it's not worth sponsoring an event. But we're gonna go ahead and put a little bit of this music and start to roll on. A little bit more techno today. A little bit more house. Go ahead and roll this in. Is this too hype? I might need to.
It makes me feel even more nostalgic with the GSL logo still on the screen.
Change it. It's now. That's something a little bit more soft. You know, I'm gonna crank up the volume on this. I just want to say we're episode 30, baby. Done 30 episodes and super ready to do more. And maybe we'll be on time this next Wednesday. You know. Probably not though, because we've been busy, but we're getting the show done, and that's what matters. Just wanted to say I appreciate you guys. Go to our Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube. If you guys prefer the early show, let us know. I know some of you do. I know like Enrique, I know you prefer probably the earlier show because you can actually watch it. But yeah, it's been a great week. Some great matches. I'm going to watch the OWL as well this weekend. Now GSL. I have a lot to watch this weekend. It's going to be an intense professional gaming experience. I'm about to have my mind blown. But this episode of the LFTG Podcast was hosted by myself, Refresh, and the man that always sits next to me, kind of always, but not really.
Oh, I was trying to see if I could actually tap you. Mohawk Mike.
Mohawk Mike. Ah, yes, Mohawk Mike. The one, the only, the Mohawk Mike. Thank you again so much for watching. Bye.